All right, everybody, welcome back to Brand Like a Boss, our next episode here where we do live makeovers for real estate agents to help them go from invisible to being irresistible. My name is Sanjeev, and I'm here with my real page each week where I'm looking to help out agents have a nice brand refresh with strategies, visuals, messaging, using all the platform tools that we have available. If you're brand new to my real page, I want to first of all share with you that we have a full library of on-demand webinars that will show you how to use our platform step by step. So before we even get started, just to share with you where you can find that if you're tuning in for the first time, you'll notice on your back end underneath our support channel that you have a knowledge base. When you open that up at the very bottom, you guys, there's a weekly webinar series recording. So if you click on this, it will bring you to the screen where you will be able to see the previous recordings, including our Brand Like a Boss episodes. So if, let's just say you might have missed some of the ones that we've done in the past, you're more than welcome to just kind of tune in right over here and take a look at what kind of previous webinars we've done. Recently, we've done a revamp on this. So if you're looking for specific topics, I highly encourage you to just to go through here and take a look at the different topics that we've now created. So if you're a brand new person, you're a beginner, take our beginner masterclass series. It takes these couple webinars over here and really brings you up to speed on the things that we're going to talk about live during these sessions. Keep in mind, these sessions are quite advanced. What we're going through here is live interactions with agents, and I'm going to go through and make some changes and I'm going to walk through some things that I discuss in a lot of detail through all these different webinars I've done over here. So if I do spend some time, I will maybe kind of cite some of these webinars that I can refer you guys back to as I'm having my conversations with the agents. Now, last week we had the opportunity to chat with Aaron, and I see Aaron is attending here today. Aaron, hope you're doing great. Just so you guys know, by the way, there's a live chat and there's a Q&A box. If you want to do any interacting today, that's your way to do it. I will have the boxes on my screen, so if you leave a message of any kind, I'll for sure be able to interact with you as we're going through this today. But Aaron, this is your former website. We had a great time chatting last week. Thanks for coming on the call. And what we did, we had chatted with Aaron afterwards from our call. We found there's a lot of great opportunities for improvement. And so we've actually gone ahead and done that. So this is Aaron's brand new website on staging. So a couple of different things that you can see here. But one of the biggest things that we talked about from Aaron was making sure we showcased his accolades, his awards, his achievements, and we really took the time to put it in a way where it wasn't an image file. So now this on mobile looks fantastic. Every other part of his page looks awesome as well too, was listings, local communities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So things are looking great in terms of his inner pages as well too. We've also taken time to improve that, adding in his YouTube video very nicely, tossing in the reviews as well, making sure these are also visible cards on mobile as well too. So we've gone ahead and done that. And again, the rest of the page is again very much cleaned up and looking great. We've also added some pages as well too that were perhaps missing on Aaron's website. So Aaron, if you had a chance to take a look at this, a brand new page at the very top that says find out what your neighbor sold for. This is a great sold data lead capture page. If it's available in your area, it's such an important thing to take advantage of because a lot of homeowners, as they begin their journey, they're curious to know what their neighbor might have sold for. So now you got a dedicated page for that, which is beautiful, where you can actually take the time to go through, sign up, create an account, and now people can go through, type in their information, and now Aaron generates a lead as a result of that. So such an important page. Check your region if you're unsure if you have this or not, but just make sure you set something like this up. We've also added your home report, which is a home evaluation page. Again, I talk about this a lot, that if you're using wording and language that everybody else uses, I think you kind of, I'll put it this way, your audience doesn't really kind of see its difference or value. So rather than calling this the word home evaluation, we call it your home report, as you can see there in that of the language there. So I would encourage you to update things that perhaps in your industry are just kind of inundated to your audience, so that they do stand out, they're unique. So there's a home evaluation form, wasn't there previously. Now this page over here, top 5 reasons your home won't sell. One of the biggest things we changed on this page is we added call to actions that would anchor people down to that of a form, which is directly on the page itself. versus people having to leave this page to be able to kind of get to that of the forum. That also brings me to that of the contact page itself. Originally, the contact page had just a calendar, but it didn't have any other way for someone to contact Aaron. Now, people, if they want to choose to call him, they can call, email, or form. It gives people the option, so they're not just limited to that of booking a call using the Calendly link. So that's some of the changes we made for Aaron. Aaron, hope you're excited about this. One thing I will also share for you guys as well too is we helped Aaron build out brand new designs inside of brand apps. So this is a underutilized tool. When I speak to agents, how often I find that they're not taking advantage of this. So take a look at this, you guys. I want to quickly show this to you as well too. Aaron had a couple different designs inside of his social media that he posts for things like new people who just purchased a property, people that sold, brand new listings. And this is all done for his branding. So he doesn't have to use the template library right here and tinker around with any of these. He's got it all kind of dialed in right over here. So take a look at this. If he wanted to now start a brand new design for, let's just say, one of his listings that just listed, and maybe there's a price reduction on it. If he clicks on this, he can go ahead and now pick that of the property. Let's just assume it's this one. And now what you're going to see is that all of the content of that listing goes directly into the design, and then he can go ahead and tweak it from there. There's some kind of data points that have to be updated manually, and there's some kind of text fields like these that are maybe kind of overlapping, and that's just a little bit of some editing like this to be able to kind of get it right. And so, I'm going to go through that with Aaron afterwards and show him how to be able to do that. He's also able to swap out these photos, which are linked directly to that of the actual listing photos themselves. So here's all the listing photos. If he wants to choose a different one, he totally can. So you can customize the design, but the nice part is that all the listing data just loads directly into the design, and you can go ahead and export it from there, basically post it on social media. So Aaron, I'll be in touch with you about this just so you can learn how to use it. Let's go ahead and publish this this website. So it's a great project. And one thing I liked about Aaron's website project that we did is that he already had done a lot of work on his site. So, for us to come in here to make some changes, a lot of it was more on the aesthetics to make things look a lot nicer. And that's what we've been able to successfully do here for him. Okay, so there we go, publish the changes. And those changes are now live, my friend. And like I said, we'll be in touch about the whole marketing design to make sure you know how to use them. So with that being said, today, guys, I'm joined by Lynn Masters from Edmonton, Alberta. We're going to be exploring her business today, talking about what's working, what isn't, walk through some live changes to her website and truly help her brand now stand out. So shifting gears, Lynn, first of all, welcome. Thanks for joining me here today on this live session. Why don't we kind of get you to introduce yourself a little bit, if you don't mind, and kind of go from there.
Hi, it's Lynn. As Sanjeev said, I'm a realtor here in Edmonton. Moved here from Gibsons, BC on the Sunshine Coast, so familiar with two markets. Um, Concentrating at this point on the seniors market, which is where I am and where I can, feel that I can be a lot of help to the clients that I meet.
Love it. That's awesome. So seniors market is a big thing. I know, Lynn, you and I have talked about that even off the call, just regards to that being a focus. And I think you watched some of our last webinars for Brand Like a Boss. And one of the things we both have discovered is that seniors is that of an avatar that we want to be able to make clear and visible on our website. Is that right?
Yes.
And so right now, one of the things I'll talk a little bit about of immediate improvements to be able to do that. We're obviously talking about marketing our page towards seniors. That's one, perhaps say we can call this like a division of your real estate business. Is we want to make sure that those kinds of things are visible right here at the very top. So if you notice these top level labels, rather than having, for example, seniors tucked in underneath resources, we would want to have one tab right across the top that says seniors. Does that make sense? Okay. So
Yes.
those people are not wondering, is this realtor for me? Is this the person that maybe has information that I'm looking for? And included this kind of home kind of part of the page as well too. Right now we have just a banner kind of message that maybe is a little bit generic, but then the button part only kind of takes us to one part, which is your about me page, but nothing maybe right from the get-go screams or shouts, I'm for you. Like, as in, if this is somebody landing on my page who's looking for senior real estate services, right now, first impression, we're maybe missing that. So in the two places immediately I can see we can benefit from, which I'll come back in and change and modify, is we'll add a brand new tab across your top that says seniors. And we'll also add something into the banner that also indicates that we work with seniors, okay? Now, in addition to the seniors market, Lynn, who else do you happen to find yourself working with?
Um, well, I'm actually working with the children of the seniors,
That's
so
right.
going
Very
down,
smart.
some who are, considering moving up or even themselves thinking of, depending on the age of the seniors and then the children, they could both be downsizing or, in one case, moving up.
Yep, totally. So yeah, move up families that are looking to upgrade for more space. And there's certain things that are probably important to them when they consider moving up to a bigger space. And like you mentioned, obviously there's the people who are looking to downsize. So you kind of have these two different kind of divisions here in your business, and that's fantastic. Is there any other kind of division that you love to focus or target?
Um, that's that's it kind of now. I mean, I have worked with first time buyers and stuff, but it's not somewhere where I'm focusing at this point.
Good stuff. Love it. So this is fantastic as a kind of, beginning part of what we're trying to, tackle, which is understanding what's kind of important to you in terms of your business, understanding, and this is something that I talk a lot about when it comes down to my, kind of 23-point framework, is who are you building your website for? If we don't define that to begin with, what I find is that then we're maybe making changes and edits that are not necessarily conducive to that of the audience we're marketing to, right? And so right now, Lynn, obviously you've got your website set up in My Real page, you picked a template, you've got some things in here which are great, by the way. Your site doesn't look bad whatsoever. I think a lot of people here would agree if they took a look at your site, first glance, they'd say, this actually looks really nice. So from our point of view, you and I here chatting here today, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to do a better job of applying a lot of functional principles underneath the website to increase the likelihood of people wanting to work with you, contact you, and really kind of take the next steps to be able to book a call and maybe become your client. So a couple of things let's kind of go through right now. The first thing I want to kind of chat about is a little bit more about who you are as an agent and being able to really showcase that. What you saw me demonstrate on Aaron's site, and you might have seen me talk about this on Cheryl's website, is that it's really great when people can share, whether it be testimonials, whether it be that of stats or achievements and accolades and awards, because all of these things boost a realtor's credibility to that of the stranger's perspective. And again, when we talk about building our website for a certain audience, we want to keep in mind we're trying to build our website for the audience of strangers. Referrals are probably going to work with you anyways, right? If I'm like, say, like you just mentioned a moment ago, right? The children of the seniors, right? They're going to work with you anyways. If you're working with, their parent and they refer, their child over to you, they'll work with you. There's a trust already there. But when we're talking about having people work with you who don't know you, the first thing they're going to ask themselves is what's your credibility? So Lynn, tell me a little bit about like how many years have you been in the business for? And in terms of some of those kinds of, let's just say, accolades, awards, stats, credibility markers, let's kind of chat a little bit about that.
Been in the business for 18 years.
Cool. Awesome. 18 years. What else?
Um, I don't have a lot of accolades and awards.
Hmm.
I do have um, what do we call it? Credentials, I guess, for the senior real estate specialist. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I've
Love
done
it.
those. Um, and I don't have my own fault. I don't have a lot of referrals or testimonials on here because I always forget to ask for them. So that's
Mhm.
that's
All
not as good
good.
as it should be either.
Yeah, you know what? That's opportunity for improvement. That's all I see. So this is great. So these accreditations, do you notice right now how they're currently sitting on your about page? Right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, some people may never even get to your about page. And if we're trying to increase the likelihood of people actually seeing it, we're going to actually bring all those awards and put them right over here. Okay. The fact that you're also been in the business for 18 years does also speak volumes as well too. Within those 18 years, you're also potentially able to maybe advertise, perhaps how many total homes that you've sold in those 18 years. Does that make sense? Okay. You could also advertise potentially, how many clients have you helped out or how many families have you helped out? over those 18 years. And these numbers, when we're talking about figures and numbers, can also be used. They don't necessarily have to be things like what Aaron might have showcased, which is, your days on average versus the market's day on average, and maybe your kind of, price to sold, whatever ratios, et cetera, you name it. It could just always be different types of figures. Okay. So we'll come back and work on that together in terms of building out that kind of about section that on first glance, when people see it, it should spark in their mind that this person is very credible. That makes sense? Okay. That's how we want people to feel. They see your part of your profile, to look at it and like, wow, this person must be pretty credible. Part of it is actually increasing those kind of level of reviews. Now, you mentioned obviously you haven't been so good at collecting them. I can see here that you have like 5 Google reviews over here, and these are the current state of reviews that we have, which is all good. One thing that I can ask you maybe right now is, how do you currently ask people for reviews? As in, like, would you send them a link? Like, how does it currently work right now?
It's usually a verbal ask.
A
That's why
verbal
I said I'm
ask.
not
Okay.
very good at it. It would be better to, even follow up the verbal ask with a link, I'm sure.
100%. Do you know what your link is to give people a review? Do you know where to like send them? Do you have
I
anything like that?
I did at one point. I'm not sure I still do.
Okay, no worries. Okay. So one thing I talked about in one of my recent webinars, why don't we add this in right now, just so that you're able to use it kind of as you see fit, with a link that you can potentially send to people. Right now, we don't maybe have, I think here it is. Here's your testimonial page. It's underneath the about section. So let's kind of go through this together and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. If I just, let me just pop this back open. If I go underneath the about page and click on testimonials, right now it just takes me to these different written reviews that you currently have over here. Okay. And these reviews, at the very top of this, we can basically put a button on there that says simply write a review. And therefore, that becomes a link that you can actually send people to. So if I come over here to your testimonial page, what we're going to do is we're just going to basically add a brand new block, because that block above doesn't allow us to basically add any kind of button to it. Let's just go ahead and add a brand new block over here, and we'll kind of reconfigure it to basically have exactly kind of what you got going on right here, but we're just going to maybe kind of tweak some things. So testimonials, what clients are saying, and we're just going to delete the rest that's currently here. So we'll delete all these different columns. We don't need additional columns. We just kind of want the one block right here. And what we're going to do, I'm going to go and delete this now. What we're going to do here is we're going to have a button, and we're going to have some text around this button too. So we're going to say, read my testimonials below, or click on the button to leave a review. Now, what this is going to do for you, Lynn, is that's going to help with that of this whole idea of collecting reviews. I find that oftentimes the reason why people have a hard time with collecting reviews is because of the fact that we don't have a system to collect them. Do you know what I mean? And again, not your fault. It just means that we just have to like take the time to build a system. And I'm going to give you a really great system moving forward to be able to use. And also a pro tip around this, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, in a Google review webinar that I've done. So first and foremost, let's grab this link right here. So this is where people can leave a review. As you can see, it opened it up for the 5 stars. All I'm doing here, and if you are watching this, all you need to do is grab the entire link string at the very top of the URL, copy all of that, and go ahead and paste it right over here, and click on this button that says open in a new window. And what we're going to put here in this label part is write a review. That's what we're going to put over here. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to make sure that when somebody clicks on that button, is that that opens up into a brand new page. And that brand new page that it opens up into is a page that allows people to basically see that review page. So take a look at this. Now that I've saved this change, this is live, by the way, Lynn. So if we were to go to your domain, which I'm just going to come over here and click on this, lynnmasters.com. If we were to come underneath the About tab and click on testimonials, take a look at how that's here now. Okay. Now look at what happens, by the way. If I click on this button, how about that, eh? Okay. All right. So now that we have this here, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to take this link here directly and share it with people so that it's easy for them to leave you a review. Does that make sense? Okay.
One question on that. Do they have to have a Gmail account to do that?
Great question. Yes. So in order for them to leave a review, they do need to have a Google account to leave the review. If your clients don't have a Google account, they can also just leave you a review in different profiles that maybe you have yet to build. Okay. You do have a Facebook profile. So if they have a Facebook account, you'll notice you have a section over here where they can also leave you a Facebook review. Okay. So if somebody wants to leave you a review here, they can also leave you a review there. You would just simply copy this link, do the exact same thing I just mentioned, and just give people the other option to not just have to click on what we just clicked on right now, but to click on that of the, let me just put this back into the, where's your page here? Sort by recent. Oh, okay, let me just type in testimonials. They can have another button here. So you can have this button say, write a Google review, write a Facebook review, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So if they don't have a Google account, it's okay. Matter of fact, I would also share with you that if you can also spread out your reviews on different platforms or have somebody post in multiple areas for you, it actually helps your online visibility when it comes down to Google trusting you as a source because your source of reviews come from multiple areas. Okay. So right now, I know, for example, you have a Google My Business profile set up, but just out of curiosity, do you have your profile set up anywhere else? Just out of curiosity, outside of Facebook, do you have it set up anywhere else?
Uh, in like Instagram, you mean, or LinkedIn? They're the
So
other
you got
two.
Instagram, LinkedIn, great. Anything else?
No.
Okay, all good. So one thing we can obviously talk about is you can technically build a account on Yelp. You can build an account on Trustpilot. You can build an account on Microsoft Bing as well too. These are all different places where you can also build a profile that looks like this. And in these different locations, there will also be places where people can leave you a review. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you actually take a look at this, Yelp Realtor Edmonton, you'll notice that Yelp actually does have realtors located here on their profile. And you'll notice that if you open up this link, that the page loads and you will actually see different Edmonton realtors located on this specific page. I don't know why it's just taking some time to load, but anyways, that's essentially where they'll be located on a page like that. So you'll basically see their profiles, see their reviews, and you can actually have your own profile on here like this. Does that make sense? You see this here? Okay.
Mhm.
So again, if somebody doesn't have a Google review account, not the end of the world. You can always have this as an example to be able to also collect reviews as well too from different locations. So there's a big pro tip, by the way, for that of discoverability, right? Any profile you can build online, build it so that ultimately you have more visibility across the board. Okay. Now, with that being said, now that we've kind of talked a little about the review part of it, we've talked a little bit about the testimonials. One thing about the testimonials, Lynn, that can help you improve is you can ask anybody to leave your review, even if they're not one of your clients, as long as their review itself is not like being exaggerated, but they can speak to that of your character, they can speak to that of your professionalism. I've seen real estate agents who've had like brand new in business, by the way, not like 18 years like you, but brand new in business, just have other people leave a review from the different industries that they might have worked out in the past and have been able to increase their Google review profile ranking just by doing that. Okay. So there's a strategy behind that. I can send you that of some kind of verbiage you can use. And then from there, you can actually send that link, the link I just created for you. You can text it to people along with your message, and you can watch and see how your reviews will increase. Make sense?
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
Out of curiosity, do you know when the best time it is to ask for a review?
When they're happy.
Yeah, when they're the happiest, you got it, right? The reality is that, me going through a process like this with you, by the time we're done and we launch the site like we did for Aaron, if I dropped Aaron a message with my review link at this point, Aaron's got no issue to write it in 5 different places for me. Does that make sense? Okay. So the timing of the review is also very important in that of not just kind of asking for it. So that's fantastic. Now, I think you've also provided some additional information to me on a message related to a little bit more about who you are. And we talk about your about page being an opportunity where people can really kind of get a feel for who you are as your background and be able to really understand, kind of your focus and really be able to connect with you. And so, you shared some things with me about that on an email, so we can add that in here. So this about page is fantastic for the most part. What it's really missing is just an opportunity for a call to action. So if you notice, you got some great text here, by the way, but then we're missing a button over here. Like right below here will be a great place to add a button as to like what's next. The accreditations, again, fantastic over there. This is so great that we have that. Sometimes just so you know, like I find in from a non-realtor's perspective, sometimes designations like these have no meaning unless you give them meaning. Does that make sense? Right? Like from my point of view, if I'm not in your real estate industry, perhaps I don't know what SRS really kind of means or what the CNE means. Does that make sense? Right? So you and I together can maybe expand on that, as in we can put in kind of some text underneath that as to what does that mean as, that accreditation to me as a realtor. How does that help you though? Does that make sense, right? As the homeowner or the home buyer. And it can really take your kind of experience of the accolades and awards to the next level. So we'll actually focus in on that as well too. Okay. Um, Rest of the page is totally fine. Let's kind of go into the other pages too that I also share with you. I took a look at before our call, and we're going to actually take the time to improve these pages as well too. So the buying and the selling pages, again, great that you have some copy already here. You got different things over here in terms of what to consider before buying a home in Edmonton. Where are you buying? What are you buying? Why are you buying it? Shop with an experienced realtor, schedule walkthroughs with your real estate agent, start the purchasing process. Why use a realtor, book a personal consultation? Now, there's something you're doing really, really well with this page. And I'd love to ask you, Lynn, do you know what it is?
Dividing them up.
Yeah, you're dividing it up. It's not just one big paragraph, is it, right? You got these headings, and that makes it easier to read. Now, here's the question, though. Do you think people read all of this text, though?
No, that was my concern, and one of my questions is, isn't it some of it might be a bit verbose, like
Yeah, it is,
too
isn't
many
it,
words.
right? Yeah, for sure. Now, question for you, just so that I know, is this content that you've written, or is this something else?
Uh, Probably over the years, content that I've written and played with.
Cool. Awesome. Sounds good. Now, what is your content? Whether for those of you guys who are listening to this webinar, it's AI generated content. What Lynn just said is a very important point is this too much? And sometimes we have to look at these, big blocks of text and ask ourselves, would we even read this? Right, Lynn? You know what I mean? And like, if we wouldn't even go through a process of reading all of this, then what makes us think that our users would want to do the same thing? So I think one of the important things about this is how do we keep things very concise and also make things readable? And what makes things readable is things like bolding text like this. So what you've done here stands out because you bolded it. As you look down these different sections, where are you buying? There's probably something in here that should just probably be bolded so that when people read the page, they're just scanning for the bolded parts. Does that make sense? Okay. One of the
Mhm.
other things that you can also do is change your heading to something that has a little bit more engagement to it. Now, there's one thing that truly drives engagement in headings, and it's a word called curiosity. In other words, like how many times have you seen perhaps say a blog on the internet, Lynn, that says something like, the top 10 mistakes that blah, blah, blah people make? You've seen that before? Okay.
Yes.
Or like, have you ever seen someone say like the 5 steps that you need to take in order to fix blah, 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 blah? Okay. Steps, list, and here's another one, a story you wouldn't believe around da 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 da. These are all different ways that create engagement because they create curiosity. And curiosity basically answers explicit or implicit questions that people have in their mind. So what you've done here on this page is actually pretty good. All I would say is that why don't we turn it into something like a list or a step or some sort of a story so that the engagement of the page can actually be much more exciting for that other reader. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
One of the things I've learned and I've been studying on myself personally is that your headlines communicate to a reader 80% of what they need to know before they even consume the rest of your content. And when you think about that, if it's 80% worth that of someone's attention to want to read the rest of it, aka the hook that leads to the rest of it, then the hook truly, truly matters. And we got to put a lot of thought into this. And the more I've been thinking about that, the more I've realized that a lot of hooks that maybe people create are just too generic. They need to be a little bit more enticing. And then the way you structure the content needs to also be engaging. So by enticing, you have a good headline, which is what we call the hook. The engagement component is what we retain people with, which has to provide some sort of value. So we entice, we engage with great content, and we ultimately at the end of that is we reward. Reward, what I mean by that is we satisfy the person with answering questions that they may have. Now I'm going to ask you this because you're a specialist in this area and I'm not. You've been working with seniors for as long as you have. Could you maybe describe to me, just out of curiosity, like the top 5 mistakes that perhaps seniors make when they think about buying or selling real estate? Top 5 that come to mind. What have you noticed in your experience?
First one, once again, we're depending on the word seniors has such a, you could be anywhere from 55 to 105. So
Totally.
that's a bit
Yeah.
of a problem there. And I'd love to learn a way to maybe scale that down a bit or divide that up. Because depending on the age, one of the biggest things is taking too long to make the decision.
Mm, yep. That's awesome. What else?
Uh, Finding the downsizing totally overwhelming. And something I don't think I say anywhere on this website are the professionals I work with to assist with that.
Hmm.
Um, just not wanting to leave the home that they're in, I guess, is always a big
Hmm.
problem. What do they do with all these memories and all this stuff? I think that's a major one, is what do I do with all this stuff?
Hmm. Love it. What else?
What am I at now?
You got 4 right now. So too long to make a decision, feeling overwhelmed, needing professionals to assist, don't know maybe where to find them, leaving a home that they have memories in. What else?
I think maybe fear of doing the right thing, even.
Fear of doing the right thing.
Yeah,
Hmm. Sounds good.
making a mistake.
Yeah, making a mistake. Yep, sure. Awesome. So, see, these 5 things that you shared with me are all kind of unique problems that these people face. And again, I understand the categorization problem, 55 to 105 is quite a long range, right?
Yeah,
uh, so the reality is for sure we want to create buckets there, right? So we can segment this whole parent category of seniors to that of people between 55 to maybe say 70, from 70 to let's just say, and beyond, however way you want to see it. Because, some people may be looking to get into retirement homes. Some people might just be looking to downsize from that of like an actual say multi, story kind of residence to that of like a single kind of maybe say bungalow or something like that. Whatever the case may be, like I think at the end of the day, like it's important to segment a little bit further. We can obviously talk about that you and I one-on-one and decide kind of what that looks like. But the reason why I asked you this question of these top 5 problems is because these now become content pages. And this is what I want to kind of share with you as an opportunity to build leads and actually attract users to your website. One of the things you mentioned was, people are maybe afraid of leaving a home that they have memories in. That's something now you can actually build as an actual page on your website, Lynn. That can be not just the word seniors guide, but if there was a tab that said seniors over here at the top, you could have a sub tab, and the sub tab says, the guide to leaving your home without, while honoring your memories or something like that, or while cherishing the memories that you've made. And then that page opens up into like, the 5 things you need to know when you're moving your home and the emotions involved with it. And then you have something dedicated towards exactly that. Does that make sense? Okay.
yeah, it
What I'm
does.
trying to describe here is in describing something I talk about in my webinar series way back about lead magnets, which is that a lead magnet is a specific solution for a specific person done in a very specific way. And if you were to put a step thing together, a list thing together, or a story together for any one of those 3 or combinations of those 3, towards exactly one specific problem, not all of them. You gave me like 5 of them. I'm not doing all of them. I'm doing it just for one of them. And it stands out for people when they see you share that now on social media. It can help out if you ran, let's just say, an ad towards that page. It can help out with that of just having good, engaging content on your webpage versus just a bunch of filler. Does that make sense? And
Yeah,
this is how your site becomes much more usable. It becomes usable because you're following a framework, which is what people ask, I answer. And I often find that if I ask an agent what I just asked you right now, which is, hey, with this audience of people you work with, tell me about some of the problems that they have, that we actually get into some of these specific problems, but we don't have specific content around that. But that's actually what begins the content generating journey. Like I started generating content based on knowing what the problem is for somebody, and now I can generate content around that and make it engaging. So we're going to come back to that and actually do that together. We'll maybe go through one live example here within the last kind of 10 15 minutes that we have on our call today, but I just want to kind of get you kind of started off and thinking like that, and that's going to be great. And then those pages will be more engaging because as we list those things out, we'll be able to have, let's just say, call to action buttons that kind of link to a specific form on the page where people can download something. And what they can download, I see here you've already put together what it appears to be a seller's guide, which is amazing. Great job, by the way. I love the fact that you have this in here. Again, most people don't. This is a guide that you put together on Canva, perhaps, Lynn, is that right?
Yes.
I love it. That's awesome. So I'm just going to double check and make sure that this has been set up properly so that when people fill this out, name, email, and phone number is optional, which is perfectly fine for something like this, is that it goes right now to that of a thank you page. And if I go to your thank you page to take a look at that, your thank you page would obviously have that of the actual guide here where someone can download, which is fantastic. So this is awesome. And if I click on this to download the guide and then it goes ahead and downloads, this is basically what the guide is. And you have your table of contents here, and I get into that of all the specifics over here, which is great. So I love the fact that you've done this. This is awesome. Something like this, by the way, the home features checklist is something that you could probably even isolate on its own, just so you know, and make this as an available download, right? So rather than having the full thing as a download, you can also just separate this on its own and just say, here's a checklist that you can get by filling out blah, 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 blah form as an example, okay? But it's great that you have the entire thing all put in here as well too. So this is also a great thing that you put together. And I recommend everybody to have something like this for your unique avatars that address them directly. This guide over here, by the way, when we look at the seniors guide, let's just go back to that real quick again. The seniors guide itself, it's called the Home Downsizing Planner, which is awesome. It's not just called the seniors guide. You got a great name for that. And I like the fact that you've actually taken the time to put something like that together. So the seniors planning guide for home downsizing, great graphic as well too that represents that. And I like the fact that you're showing the cover of this image. And like I'm saying here, with the cover of this image, you could also do one for that of the checklist. So it could be another one just like this that just has specifically just the checklist component of it. And it could be as simple as that of saying the home features checklist, and people see a nice preview graphic like this. This is something I've done for another agent. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see that website, but I did that for this agent over here where we put a downsizing checklist together. And you can see here, this was the checklist, and we just showcase a preview of that checklist that people can possibly download. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep.
So just another way to kind of look at, how we can maybe do that. So this is great. So we have some content pages to improve clearly on the buying and the selling side. One of the other pages that I oftentimes find that people miss on their webpage is a page that can perhaps talk a little bit about maybe their marketing strategy. And so when it comes down to that, when it comes down to marketing someone's home, what kind of things perhaps do you do for someone's home? I think there's some things here that you mentioned, which is things like staging. But tell me a little bit more about that, like in terms of what you're doing for the marketing side of a listing.
Um, ooh, you caught me off guard. Uh, well, getting it ready is a big part. So that's where I have people coming in either to help with the downsizing, and then we do go into the staging part of it. Um,
Hmm.
and then for marketing, um, like I probably don't, I don't know. You caught me. I'm not sure.
It's all good. So we do maybe say, open houses, right?
Yes. Okay.
Posted on social media, things like
Yes.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's posted all over the MLS, syndicated across, realtor.ca, you name it, right? So that's obviously taking place. So
Yeah.
the idea of sharing all of this, so MLS, social media, open houses, we come in and we get it ready, we stage part of it, we revamp this, revamp that, we do photography, do videography, etc.
Oh yeah.
All
I
of
forgot
that.
those.
Yeah, I know. It's all good, right? When we're asked the question, we just don't know the answer. I do that all the time. My whole thing is this: how come we're not saying all that on the webpage? And I want you to be able to communicate that so that when people actually want to know how do their listings get represented? They actually have the ability to see some of that written out in a list format that they can actually take the time to interact with. Okay. And I'll show you kind of when we get to that. We'll actually build you a page like that. We'll work together on being able to showcase, what people are getting by listing with you. Okay. The other part I want to focus on before I get into making some live edits is your quick searches tab. Now, the first thing about these searches, if I can ask you, what do you think about these searches is not useful for people? Okay. Just try to ask yourself the question, what about these searches are not necessarily useful for people? I'll click into one of them and you try to tell me if you know what it is.
Um, I don't know.
Okay,
I,
all good, all good.
that's
Here's the
that's not
question.
where I like. It's not something I must confess. It's on my website because it comes, I think, part of the package with the website or something. Like I'm not crazy about the idea of it.
Yeah, and that's probably the case too. Like I'm not even surprised you're saying that. Is that it's probably something you might have just set up when you got onboarded in the beginning, right?
Yeah,
Give us 10 of your searches you want to create, and you're like, okay, and you're like Northwest Edmonton, Central Edmonton, Southeast Edmonton, right? And you gave your searches and they were created. But the problem with this is how many listing results show up over here, Lynn?
way too many.
Way too many. And is that how people like to search?
No.
Yeah, it's just like finding a needle in a haystack, right? Like this is not necessarily going to provide them the user experience they're looking for. So together, let's just kind of think of some right now as it relates to people who are looking to perhaps downsize. If they're looking to downsize, they're obviously moving from a place that's a lot bigger to a place that's a lot smaller. Vice versa, you have people who are looking to upsize. They're looking to step up into a bigger space. Perhaps it's because of, a new family they're starting. If they're starting a family, maybe they're thinking about school catchments. I mean, these are just some of the things that come to my mind. If you can share with me, what kind of a search would be helpful for someone to find a property as it relates to downsizing? What kind of search would be helpful?
Uh, well, oftentimes cost is a factor. So even putting some price parameters.
Hmm.
Um,
Price, love that. So I'm just going to stop you right there for a second. Budget would be a great way for people to search, right? Based on budget. And we can obviously talk about certain brackets that you think are probably like good brackets to go by. Some people would say increments of 100,000. Some people would say increments of maybe say 50. Some people might say 250. Whatever your increments are, I love the fact you pointed that out. What else comes to mind?
Location.
Hmm.
As far as most of them don't want to be out on an acreage far away from everything. They need access at this point,
Hmm.
to family, parks, medical care.
Hmm. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to start getting you to start thinking about the where we're going with this. Okay, and I think you might get pretty excited. All right. If you're telling me that these people are looking for something under a certain budget, and you're also trying to help them find something that's located near amenities that don't require them to maybe have to travel far to find these amenities. Maybe things for parks, grocery, convenience stores to, say, salons, malls, you name it. Can you and I potentially together figure out what those locations may be so they're not necessarily things like Central Edmonton, Northwest Edmonton, Southwest Edmonton, but rather, and forgive me on this one, Lynn, I don't know Edmonton too well, okay? But things like Windermere, right? Things like, Glenora, things like the river, I think it's called what, Riverbend, if I'm not mistaken, out there.
Yes.
Um, if we can start building searches around smaller areas that for a fact that if somebody found a home here, that they were going to find a really good home that also maybe, for example, doesn't have any like, stairs or like, perhaps, extra floors, like maybe single floor, could be bungalows, could be whatever. And they're also priced in that specific budget range as well, too. Now that you built that search page, the cool thing about this is you can run ads directly to those pages. Like, for example, on Facebook, I'm not sure if you know this, but on Facebook, you could actually create an ad now that says, do you want to see homes that are perfect for downsizing, that are within the budget of this and this, and are located near family, parks, local amenities and grocery stores, click here to get the list. And in order for you people to get the list, which is on your website, they have to fill out a lead form on Facebook, which means you generate a lead and now people get to see the listings. How cool is that? Okay. So
Mhm.
this now becomes an actual lead generating machine. The way you're actually going about doing this is you're thinking in terms of that of what's useful for people, build an ad around what's useful for people, drive people to the page where all those listings are actually located. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is something that you and I can work towards is we can build out things like this and we can drive ads to this. Now, whether you just share them on social media, because you can make a general post about it, or you can boost that post and get it in front of the right audience, totally up to you, but just giving you things to actually think about. Okay. So I'm excited actually. There's a lot of cool things we can do with this, and I'm very excited to help you kind of like really revamp this in a way that makes people feel very excited as to what they can actually do. Um, I also like the fact that this is your blogging, by the way, here that you're doing,
Yes.
which is awesome. One thing I'm going to help fix for you on your blog is that you see how all the posts is currently showing right now. What we're going to do is we're just going to abbreviate everything so that not the entire thing kind of shows up all at once. People can click on the button to read more in order to actually do that. So there's an option here underneath our blog settings to truncate the post. So we're going to go and truncate that. And then what we're also going to do here is we're going to take the time to, separate this out maybe in a way where it's not just like one big list, but we can do 3 columns like this so people can see more at a glance. And then that way, if I kind of go ahead and just take a look at this now by making these changes, we'll also move this little sidebar over here to the very top. So right now it's kind of on the right side. Let's just go ahead and move it to the top so it's a little bit more modernized and therefore the post can now showcase a lot more. Does that make sense? Okay. So as
Oh,
people come
yeah.
to your blog page, now they can see, oh, am I looking for the role of community and home buying decisions or moving to a new home with pets or fresh home staging for the spring. So I have the ability now to see multiple posts all at the same time before I click on read post. And then from there, I can obviously go in and actually read the posts themselves. So that's going to be a much better experience in that of the revamp we're going to be doing. And as I see here inside of these pages as well, too, one thing I'm going to give you as a pro tip, something I'll probably get you started on, but then eventually I want you to take it over from me, is I want you to take these blog posts that you're writing and start linking them back to pages inside of your website. Does that make sense? Okay. So you're taking the time to write a blog post, such as the role of community in home buying decisions. You will end up sharing this on multiple social media platforms. You'll share this on Facebook, you'll share this on LinkedIn, maybe you'll create an Instagram post about it. This is how traffic comes back to your webpage. This can also be discovered using that of SEO, with out of some keywords inside of the post. The bottom line is that right now, while the post is great in terms of the fact that you're bolding things and it's easy to read and things are separated, all of it's great. The only thing that is missing is that it's missing links. Does that make sense? Okay. So if I'm having, for example, I'll give you a great example right here. This section right here, take a look at this. Local amenities and recreational spaces. When considering both downsizing and upsizing, it's important to think about the local amenities that will make your day-to-day life easier and more enjoyable. Blah, 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 blah. Do you see how this could actually link to that new search page that we just talked about? See what
Hmm.
I mean by that? Okay. So if I wanted to have like a, say another paragraph underneath that, I could have something like, check out these list of properties in this neighborhood, which is perfect for things like parks, grocery stores, and restaurants, all minutes away from you. And now it goes to a page where people can now engage with that has to do with that content. Does that make sense? Okay.
Hmm.
So the beauty of that is that your blog posting is very, very important, but you can't, and I always tell people, don't just write blogs and then just have text, have blogs with hyperlinks. Those hyperlinks inside of your actual pages is what's going to help make it more engaging. And so that's the reason why we always start off the discussion with who are you looking to work with? You're looking to work with people who are looking to upsize, looking to downsize, and we can build content pages as it relates to them. We can go in here, revamp the actual menu structure, revamp the searches, revamp the about pages so that when you start publishing more content, you have the ability to link people back to pages that are really designed to help you convert. Does that make sense? Okay. So I got about 10 minutes left here. So far, Lynn, any questions that have come up that you might have kind of been thinking about or wanted to bring up before I kind of get into some edits here?
One question with blog posts, should you go in and take some of the ones away, delete from years ago? Like,
Great question. Great question. Believe it or not, sometimes you don't need to go back and delete them. One thing that's a pro tip, by the way, is you can actually go back into your blog post and change the publish date back to a current date as of now. So what happens is that actually tells Google that the article is actually relevant. So for example, let's just say, I don't know how far back we're talking about here, Lynn, but let's just say it's, further back than this, than 2025 here, how downsizing can be a new beginning, like this page over here, okay? This right here is an example. Let's just say a year from today, which is 2026. What you're able to do is come over here to settings and you can change the publish date to that of 2026. Does that make sense? Okay.
oh,
Google is going to prioritize content. And you tell me, do you think Google's going to prioritize content 10 years ago or prioritize content that's more current?
more current.
You got it. So believe it or not, one of the easiest ways to keep content relevant is just change your publish date. That's it. Because Google is going to pick up this actual publish date as to what date this was actually posted. So if it says it's posted a year ago, but someone else wrote something that's posted 5 days ago, it's going to pick the 5 days ago over that of the year ago, because that's going to be more relevant to the person searching for whatever that blog post is trying to answer. Does that make sense? You will notice this on a lot of different things out there, by the way. When you type certain things up, like I've typed things up for SEO, just out of curiosity to learn for SEO related things. And it's a guide on how SEO works in, say 2024, but it's the date's been updated to that of like January 2025. Do you see what I mean? Right. And so these experts are kind of doing that. It obviously tells you that that's a huge kind of value point. So you don't have to delete former blogs. You just maybe might want to update the dates for them a year from today. Make sense?
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions so far?
Uh, no. It
Okay.
sounds amazing, but how I do it, I'm happy it's you. Let's just say I'm happy it's you, not me, that we're working on this right now.
Yeah, you know what? And I think this is the thing, right? When I talk about this out loud, I think for anybody watching, they might feel like this is a lot of work. And, I always tell people, listen, at the end of the day, it is a lot of work, but it's the equity that you're building in your website over time that's going to work for you. It's no different than making any kind of investment. There's a lot of work up front, but you want the stuff to pay you dividends down the line. So set it up once correctly so that moving forward, you don't really have to make many changes aside from adding in a couple blog posts from time to time and staying up to date with what's current in your industry. That's what I'm going to help you focus on in this kind of a session as we kind of work together from this week to next week and making some of these changes. Okay. Make sense?
Hmm.
Um, so with that being said, again, I only have a couple minutes here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make some quick changes here just to showcase to people how this actually works. And so as we integrate some of the things that Lynn's been working on, you guys, we're going to come over here to menu navigation. Inside of the menu settings, we're going to switch this thing to staging, which is where we all begin all of our changes. We don't want to make anything live. Right now, we have a menu structure that says home, properties, quick search, buy, sell, about, resources, and client portal. And the client portal, for those of you guys are wondering, what is that? That's where people sign up to basically view their listings and save searches and receive email alerts. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Lynn, one other area that you can actually focus on inside of your website is in that of your sold data. You probably heard me talk about that for Aaron's website. I believe you also have access to sold data, as you can see right over here. So if you want to show only sold listings as well and go back up to 2 years, you totally can, just so you know. Okay. This can be an effective opportunity for lead capture as well, too, as again, people are curious to know what their neighbors might have sold for, and you can really spin that around and kind of build a really great kind of targeted ad kind of around that as well, too. Okay. So we'll kind of, focus on building something like that as well. But first things first, let's just start off with a much better, perhaps say, menu structure, and a menu structure that kind of caters towards these kinds of demographics that you're talking about. So you have the home, which is already there. Properties, we can keep properties already currently there as it is. Obviously, what we're going to do differently with properties, those is actually I realize this is being hidden inside your menu. Is there a reason for why this is being hidden in your menu, by the way? Like your listing page, your office listings, out of curiosity, Lynn?
Um, no.
Okay, you have no idea either. Okay, don't even worry about it. It's all good. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just kind of revamp this really quickly here for you, just so you can see here. So I always start off with this because it's easy for me to visualize what we're about to do. So the first tab that we're creating now is a tab from home that says search. Search is going to have the following kind of drop downs in there. It's going to have her feature listings. So feature listings, Lynn, is going to be all the listings that you are listing yourself and showcasing. So that will go to your My Listings page. Then what we can do is we can add in searches as it relates to people who are looking to downsize. So downsize type searches. So people that are looking to downsize. We can have another search related for people who are looking to upsize. So upsize related searches. So we'll design what those can look like. And then maybe things related to just out of like communities. So people want to live in certain communities. They can see all properties in XYZ community. Does that make sense? Okay.
Mhm.
Some people want to do their own search, so I always kind of leave these two options in here. It's called a custom search page, which has a list version on that page right there. And we also have that of a map search where we have people where they can actually do their own kind of map search concept using that. So that becomes your new tabs over there, okay? Next thing, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. We don't need those quick searches anymore. So that's all things underneath search. Next tab here we're going to have is a tab like we talked about for downsizing, or seniors, I should say. So when people are looking at your website, they can see right away you work with seniors. What we have underneath this, by the way, as like a sub tab that people can look at is your seniors guide. So you already have a seniors guide that will obviously go to your seniors guide page that you have already created. We have that of some other things we talked about, such as like some subjects that we can write here as titles. So for example, one could be that of like a what do we say here, fear, but leaving home with memories, right? So like let's just say top five um reasons to consider to move now. We'll kind of make that as an example for right now, just because I'm just like you, Lynn. I get put on the spot, I start having a brain fart. Okay. All right. Let's talk about another one. Let's just call this one the 3 steps to moving on from your current place emotionally. Make sense? Okay. These are the types of content pages we're going to be creating inside of your seniors drop down menu. Engaging concepts. Notice how I'm using lists, I'm using steps. One other thing I can add over here is a, uh, an inspiring story from a senior like you, as an example. So again, different concepts of how you can create things that are engaging, all that create curiosity. Top 5 reasons to move creates curiosity. 3 steps to moving on from your current home emotionally creates curiosity. An inspiring story from a senior like you, again, creates curiosity. Okay. So that's something you can have as a tab. Another tab we're going to have, like we just talked about, is people looking to like, step up, so to speak, into bigger homes. So this could be, for example, upsizing as your main level kind of item. And the same thing over here, we would have a guide for people looking to upsize. So an upsizing guide. We would have content pages using lists, using steps, using stories again. So it could be, for example, top 5 neighborhoods to grow a family. And that becomes your page for that, as an example. Okay. Let's call this right here the four reasons that, or let's call it 4 signals that tell you that you're ready to increase your space, as an example. Okay. Again, we can refine those later. And it could be another one that, let's just say, is like a story of some kind. So that becomes like your upsizing tab. Now you can still have something to do with like just general buying or general selling related tips and things like that. But reality is that if it's just a bunch of, I guess you could say, fluff on your page, I just recommend not having it because it doesn't necessarily help people. Okay. We'll come back and decide on that later. I'll keep the selling tab because selling in and of itself, there should be a home for that, where you talk about things like your marketing strategy, like I said, home evaluation. What I mentioned earlier today as well too, about changing the label home evaluation to things like, what's your home worth, is sometimes a better label than just saying the word home evaluation. So it's going to lead to maybe, say, more people clicking on that. So what's your home worth could be one of the labels. Another label is called marketing strategy as an example. So that's another page we can talk about building inside of your menu. And then, like I said, this whole kind of generic content stuff will basically remove. This is an infographic, which is great. Probably a great thing to put underneath that are resources as an example, Lynn, because it's maybe more helpful to kind of be underneath a resource tab. And then the about tab is, where, people kind of get to know about you. So this could be instead of about, it could be why work with Lynn. And it goes into that of, about who you are, etc. Actually, the main level item, we should leave that as about. The sub label, which is this label right here, we can have that say why work with Lynn, just because we want to keep the top level clean and nice and short. And then this is kind of like, your sub tabs underneath. Why work with Lynn, testimonials, client portal. We can also change that as well too. Instead of it saying client portal, it could have a different name to it as well too. But we'll talk about that afterwards, just because I'm running out of time. If I go and save this real quick, I just want you to see your menu difference already, Lynn, just between doing that and how much more kind of helpful it becomes for people when they see these things across the top. Do you see what I mean by that? Okay. So home search, look at this now, seniors guide, top 5 reasons to move now, 3 steps to moving on from your current place emotionally, an inspiring story from a senior like you, upsizing guide, top 5 neighborhoods to grow a family, 4 signals to tell you you're ready to increase your space, sell, what's your home worth, marketing strategy, why work with Lynn, testimonials, resources. You have perhaps all of your lead magnets here, whether it be moving checklist, could be seniors guide, could be whatever buyer seller guide, etc. You name it. And you got your client portal and your contact page. So this is going to be the beginnings of the work we're going to do together. But now we set up the site structure. You and I will build out the rest. We'll, revamp the homepage or revamp the about page. We'll add some content that relates to these things that we're going to kind of talk about up here at the top that we'll agree on together. And by next week, Tuesday, we're going to have a much better looking website and a functional website as well too. Make sense?
Sounds wonderful.
All right, I'm excited. There's a lot of work ahead of us. Now, keep in mind, guys, next week is Canada Day, so we're actually not going to have our webinar on Tuesday. We will have our webinar on Wednesday, just to give you a heads up, okay? We're just going to make a little slight date switch to July 2nd at 10 a.m., same time, Pacific time, and we'll go and take it from there. But Lynn, great being with you today. Thanks so much for being such a great guest, making it interactive, and really sharing with us things that can help us improve your website. I'm very excited. Any last words from you before we close?
No, thank you. That's been absolutely wonderful. I'm really excited to get going on it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm very excited as well too. Yeah, I can't wait to blow your mind by next week Tuesday. And guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, my name is Sanjeev, and thanks for tuning in on the My Real Page Brand Like a Boss series. Have a great day, you guys. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye.